That evening, as the wind howled outside and the sky darkened with strange purple clouds, Rayna clutched the golden grain of sand in her hand. Its warmth and glow was both comforting and mysterious. She didn't understand everything it could do, but she had a feeling it was much more powerful than she first thought. Suddenly, a loud knock echoed through the house. Rayna and Ammar jumped, startled by the sudden noise. "Who could that be?" Ammar whispered, his eyes filled with worry. Rayna's heart pounded in her chest as the door creaked open to reveal an old man. His clothes looked like they were worn from time, and he leaned heavily on a twisted wooden cane. His eyes, though kind, glinted with something more. He knew something. The old man stepped forward with a faint smile. "Greetings, my lady. It seems you've been making wishes, have you not?" His voice soft but commanding. Rayna's heart skipped a beat. How could he know? She hadn't told anyone about the grain of sand. The only other person who knew about it was Ammar. "Who are you?" she stammered, gripping the grain of sand in her pocket. "My name is Merlin," he said with a slight bow of his head. "I have traveled far in search of something precious, something that fell from the sky long, long ago." His gaze fell to Rayna's pocket where the grain of sand rested. A piece of stardust, to be exact. Stardust? Rayna thought to herself. "Wishes are only the beginning of what that little golden grain can do," Merlin continued. "What you've found is a relic of an ancient comet filled with magic beyond your wildest imagination. Anything it touches will be given magical qualities. Anyone who holds it will have everything their heart desires. It can even open doors to other worlds." Rayna stared at Merlin with her mind racing. She thought back to the strange events of the day. The wishes that had come true almost instantly. Could it really be? Was the golden grain of sand actually a piece of a comet? Capable of more than she could even imagine? Merlin took a step closer. "You must be careful with it, young lady. Its power is immense, and it will draw attention from anyone who knows magic. And yes, that includes me, and also darker forces that seek to control its magic." Rayna's grip tightened on the grain of sand with a mixture of fear and awe swirling inside her. "What should I do with it?" she asked. Merlin smiled kindly. "For now, keep it safe, child. Use it wisely, but remember, the grain of sand has a will of its own. It may lead you where you do not expect, and it could even affect those around you." Before Rayna could ask anything more, Merlin turned and disappeared into the night, leaving her and her brother standing in the doorway, their minds spinning with the possibilities and the dangers that might lay ahead. The next day, Rayna couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. She kept the grain of sand tucked securely in her pocket, and though no strange wishes came to mind that day, she couldn't stop thinking about Merlin's warning. The golden grain of sand was far more powerful than she had realized. Later that afternoon, Rayna's family went out to a local furniture store. You see, her mom had been talking about getting a new couch, and her dad wanted to look for a chair. And after they got to the store, Rayna and Ammar just wandered through the aisles with their thoughts still on the golden grain of sand. And as they passed a row of lamps, Rayna reached into her pocket to check on the grain of sand, making sure it was still okay, and she pulled it out for just a second and saw its golden surface glimmering in the store's fluorescent lights. And as she did, her hand brushed against one of the lamps on display, and before she realized it, the grain of sand slipped from her fingers. It bounced off the lamp's metal base, and just for a moment, they thought they saw that lamp flicker with a faint glow. Rayna gasped as Ammar quickly saw what had happened as she reached down and snatched the grain of sand off the floor. She held it in her palm with her heart racing. "Did anyone see that?" asked her brother. "I don't think so," said Rayna. The two kids glanced around, but nobody seemed to notice. Their parents were busy talking with the salesman, and they both breathed a sigh of relief as Rayna carefully tucked the grain of sand back into her pocket. She'd have to be more careful. Merlin's warning echoed in her mind. Remember, child, anything it touches will be given magical qualities. Rayna didn't want to imagine what kind of trouble she could cause if she wasn't careful, and as her family made their way to the store exit, Rayna glanced back just in time to see two other kids walking into the store. There was a brother and a sister, and they were both admiring the very lamp she had accidentally dropped the grain of sand on. And the brother, about her age, was excitedly pointing to the lamp while his older sister nodded in agreement. There was something strange about the way the lamp seemed to shimmer for a moment, almost as if it still held a trace of the sand's magic. But those kids didn't seem to notice. They just smiled, eager to convince their parents to buy it. And Rayna heard the boy say to his sister, Nora, doesn't this lamp look cool? We should get this for my room. Rayna felt a strange sense of relief and curiosity as she watched them. She didn't know what kind of magic the lamp might hold now, but something told her the lamp held a few surprises of its own after coming into contact with the golden grain of sand. Tucking the grain of sand safely back into her pocket, Rayna knew that while her journey with the sand had just begun, someone else might soon find themselves at the start of theirs as well. That night, after Rayna and Ammar got back from the furniture store, Rayna put the golden grain of sand on her bedside table and stared out her window at the stars. And as she looked up at the sky, she noticed something strange. One of the stars in the sky was moving. And then another one started moving. And then another. Rayna had never seen stars move around in the sky like this before, and she knew these were not airplanes. What were those stars doing? Were they trying to send her a message? Or was this a sign of something to come? And then Rayna looked down at the golden grain of sand on her bedside table and saw that it was glowing softly. And just as she reached for it, the grain of sand just disappeared. It just vanished into thin air. Rayna looked up and down and all around, but that thing was gone. Rayna could not figure out what happened, and while she felt a sense of disbelief, she also felt a sense of peace. It was as if the sand had chosen to move on, seeking its next adventure. She didn't know where it went, but deep down, she knew its magic would resurface again. The next morning, as Rayna and Ammar were on their way to school, they passed Merlin, who was walking by in the other direction, and he greeted them with a knowing smile. Good morning, he said with a nod. Are you all right, young lady? How do you feel now that the stardust has moved on? Rayna's eyes widened. How did you know it was gone? She asked, remembering how the grain of sand had just disappeared into thin air off her nightstand. Magical relics like that never stay in one place for long. They come and go as they please, you see, leaving behind their mark on those who held them. And while Ammar was sitting there listening to all this, his curiosity got the best of him. What kind of mark? He said, and Merlin leaned in with his eyes twinkling. You'll soon find out, young man. The grain of sand leaves a gift for those who care for it. Call it a touch of fortune, if you will. Haven't you noticed how things have just mysteriously been going your way? And of course, Rayna knew exactly what Merlin was talking about. She remembered all the strange but very fortunate events at school and the ease with which everything seemed to fall into place while she held that grain of sand. Even Ammar remembered the toy that just appeared out of nowhere when he wanted it most. Wait, you mean we're lucky now? Ammar asked with excitement creeping into his voice. Not just lucky, my boy, Merlin replied with a wink. From this day forth, both of you children will always carry with you a subtle aura of luck. Even though that golden grain of stardust has moved on, you'll find that small things will go right for you. But be mindful, it works best when you don't force it. Just let the magic work in its own time. Rayna turned back and exchanged a look with Ammar as they both felt excitement, and Merlin smiled at them one more time before continuing on his way, disappearing into the distance. And as they continued towards school, Rayna felt a strange sense of contentment. The grain of sand may have left her for now, but its magic remained. She glanced at Ammar and smiled, knowing that while their adventure with the golden grain of sand had ended for the moment, their new gift was just the beginning of something much bigger. Both kids had exciting lives ahead of them, with a lot of good luck and fortune to spread throughout the world. And as for the lamp in that furniture store, well, Rayna couldn't help but wonder about the boy and his sister. What would happen when they took that lamp home? She had a feeling their story was only just beginning. Do you ever find yourself wondering when the next episode is going to come out for the Storyland podcast? I know they don't come out as much as we all want them to, but if you want to be the first to know about when the next story is going to drop, all you got to do is follow us on Instagram or Facebook, or just go to storyland.show, and you'll find links to all the different places online where you can listen and watch, and even leave a comment and make suggestions about other story ideas that you might have. Just go to storyland.show, or again, you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Storyland, all one word, podcast. Storyland Podcast, and you should be able to find us there. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.